Hey everybody, what's up? It's Colin583 here again. Today, I'm back with another fan video. You're gonna have to excuse my voice. It's definitely allergy season by now, and I'm a little clogged up. But anyways, this is a late 90s Duracraft 3-speed pedestal fan that I just got from the garbage. I'm going to go under the assumption that it doesn't work, and I'm going to show you guys how to fix a fan in this video, or at least how I fixed 95% of the fans I pick up. So, before we do that, I just want to take a quick tour. I used to have a fan like this when I was a kid, or rather my grandma did. It was branded under Honeywell. I think it may have been a little older. It didn't have these plastic snaps. But this is pretty much the condition I got it from the trash. Front looks pretty good. You look down, stands in good condition, paint's in good condition. Plastic's a little yellow. But then you look on the back side, you're going to have to excuse the mess down here. And oh boy, that is very yellow, and this is rather rusty and polleny and stuff, so I have a feeling this may have been used in front of a window, or at least in front of sunlight. I mean, that is pretty much brown. That's pretty nasty. Yeah, that's become rather hard and brittle. You can see it's starting to crumble. There. But oh well, that's the way this goes sometimes. I plan on fixing that, but just not on this video. I think I'm going to paint it. But anyways, it's already on high speed, which is what gives me that indication that it's no longer working. Because normally that's the way I find these things. I can turn the oscillator off. I'm going to attempt to plug this in one-handed. Here we go. And it's not working. You can hear a faint hum, tells me that it is trying, so it's not like a thermal fuse cut out or anything, but it is in fact seized. Alright, that's what I figured. So, what I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to throw you guys up on the tripod, and I'm going to take you through step by step how I fix this kind of problem, because this is indeed about probably 95% of the fans I pick up. So, let's get started. Alright, so I am in my shop right now, so it's a little bit crammed for space, but I'll do my best here. So, what I'm going to go ahead and start off doing is just simply popping the front grill off. These plastic snaps are a little nerve-wracking. I hope they're not too brittle. They don't seem to be. Oh, that one broke. I knew it was going to break at least one of them. So you can already see that this thing's going to need a decent cleaning. It's kind of dirty on the inside. Oh my god, wow. Wow, that's really locked up. I've never seen one that bad before. I mean, wow. Alright. So, next up, I'm going to be pulling these blades. Wow, I can't get over that. That's insane. I know you guys can't see how much force is going into that, but that was a lot of force behind trying to turn those. Try and pop this back grill off, although this is being stubborn too. Wow, I've never seen one of those locked on that tight either. Holy crap. Jesus. Hold on, I'll be back on that. Wow, that took quite a bit of effort. I ended up using a mallet and a wood block and tapping on that. Wow, that's crazy. Two things are crazy stuck on this fan. Alright, so this fan definitely got warm because the inside of this plastic is yellow. I can't say I've seen that before, so that's probably heat damage more than anything. Maybe this fan was just used in a very warm, very warm environment. Ah, as you can see, I don't know if you guys are going to be able to see, but these vents on the motor are really plugged up. So that certainly doesn't help the situation. Alright, so the next step is going to be popping off this front motor housing. There's only 2 screws that hold this one on. That's kind of nice. And this should pop off. Yeah, just a little dirty. Starting to reveal our motor here. I'm going to spin this thing around. If you didn't realize how yellow it was, that should show you. Wow. I mean, this is literally brown. Most oscillators pop right off like that, but some of them do in fact have a screw. The switch, on the other hand, I have no idea how it comes off. That might be problematic. But, I can figure that off camera. So there's a screw in the back here that comes out as well. Which I believe is now free. Alright, that switch knob came off. Just took a lot of force. That's a first. There is a dead shield or stink bug in there. Don't usually get that. Wow, so that's yellow on the inside too. This thing's crazy. Alright, so the back of the motor is just a little dusty here. You know, just wipe this off with a shop rag here. To get it out of my way. Hopefully not get it all over me. So, the next step, I believe, is going to be pulling the motor apart. So I need to grab a couple other tools. So, when you first pull the motor apart, you got to pop this snap ring off here. I usually use a flathead screwdriver very carefully because they can go flying. Then, what I'll do is I will pop this oscillator. Actually, you know what? No, I'm going to do that later. Next, I'm going to pull these screws apart, and usually they do not come out with that little pressure. Normally, you strip the hell out of these screws because they're so stuck. That's apparently not the case with this one. Wow. Coming out very easily. I'm getting lucky. So I just realized I forgot to do something. Now this depends heavily on what type of fan you have. So if you have a fan where the switch is in the stand, then this is going to be a little more tricky. But if you have one where the switch is on the back of the motor, then this step is easier. So what I like to do is I like to loosen this screw on the side here. Then I like to loosen the screw on the bottom of this oscillator here, which is always reverse thread, so be careful of that. Now if you have a fan with the switches in the stand, this is where you need to be careful. Because what I do is I pop the whole motor off, like that. Fans with like this one, where it's just a cord, it's pretty easy usually to feed the cord through. Get a little more slack so you can pick it up on the bench here. Otherwise, I recommend just detaching the top half of this with the switch from the stand, if that makes sense. There we go. So I can feed a little more cord through there and we can work on the bench now. Alright, so now that it's on the bench, you can begin to separate the motor halves carefully. A lot of times things like to get snagged or get stuck or stuff like that. In the case of this one, if it being this stuck, I don't know if it's going to want to come apart very easily. Got to be very careful of these windings, they are kind of delicate. There we go. A little bit of movement here. But neither side really want to come off, because these are really stuck. I've never had one this stuck before. It's kind of crazy. So I'm going to go ahead and fiddle with this off camera and get these motor halves apart. Okay, this is crazy. I've never seen anything like this before. That bearing is so stuck on there that, I don't know if you could see it, but the bearing is staying still and the housing is spinning around it. It's ridiculous. Alright, so I'm having a bit of trouble, so I'm going to see if I can get the back end off. So I'm going to go ahead and do is pop the oscillator box off, see if I can lubricate the shaft a little bit to get it through. Now when you take this off, you always want to make sure that this is pulled out, because there's little spring-loaded balls in there that will like to go flying everywhere if that's not pulled out. And it can be very, very annoying to get them back. Now don't pop that out of there either, because that's also, we'll do the same thing. So there's your gear fill out there. There is some stuff that resembles grease in here, but not very much, and it's a strange color. Let's put it that way. I think this thing is this side is the same story. So you gotta be careful with these wires. I'm kind of not being careful enough here. This is ridiculous. Alright, let me fool around with this off camera again. So this got rather messy rather quickly. I was able to free the back, and in doing so, the windings, where the windings meet the head wire here, came exposed, as you can see. So now I'm going to have to heat shrink that. Not the end of the world, but I went to, that's all the heat shrink that came off of there. I went to pop the front out, and the whole bearing came out on the shaft. Like I said, this is completely ridiculous. I've never seen anything quite like this ever. But the whole bearing popped out, so I'm gonna hope that I can get that back in there. I'm gonna go ahead and grab this stupid thing with a pair of vice grips and see if I can't get it to move at all. I mean, this is absolutely ridiculous. Alright, so it does in fact spin. You can see that there's a bunch of dirt and crap and grease in there. Alright, that seemed to have worked pretty well. That is ridiculous. Wow, I've never had a motor fight me that hard. But it's apart now, so let's move on. So the next thing I do, especially with something this bad, is I throw it in a drill press here. I take some sandpaper, very fine grit, and that's what I was looking for. This is 400 grit. I usually go higher than that, but I can't find my sandpaper around, and this is pretty bad. So what I like to do is I spin it up, and then I pull the sandpaper up and down with some gentle force on it. Concentrating in the area where the bearing rubs. You can see all the crap I just took off. And then I will flip it around to the worm gear side and do the same on this side. Now on this side you have to be a little careful because sometimes you'll get caught in the worm gear. Now it looks very good. You can see that crap is all gone. And it looks pretty much brand new again. So let's continue. So I've gone ahead and reassembled this to some degree. It's not perfect, as you can see, but it seems to be in there pretty well. So I'm not going to fight with it anymore. I'm just happy I got it back together. I'm going to go ahead and quickly shrink tube these wires. Let's shrink the heat shrink. Alright, the heat shrink has been shrunk. I should have one big piece to fit over all these. I don't know if they're all going to fit in that one though. This is a big piece of shrink tubing to encapsulate them all. There. Let's see if we can shrink this one down a little bit. Alright. Okay, so as you can see, I've gone ahead and heat shrunk the wires. Hopefully I didn't break anything in the process. And what I'm going to go ahead and do here is take a little bit of this green Christmas wire stuff and go ahead and secure these wires back about where they should be, which I believe is about here. back over there, and then I can go ahead and stick these windings back to where they're supposed to be. Sweet! Alright, so let's get to what I meant to get to a while ago and oil these bearings. So this one's going to be a little easier to see than the rear. If you notice, there's a wick in here that should be full of oil, and that will seep through these bearings and lubricate them. These are completely dry, so I'm taking my can of zoom spout oil, as it's called, and I'm filling up the wick here. Slowly, let it seep in here. That's what I thought. Alright, I'm going to have to do the back here, which you can't really see, but there's not much I can do about that. So sorry. When they're fully soaked, they'll become a much darker color. You can see these have turned almost black. That's a good sign. Then what I like to do before I put the shaft in, I put a little oil directly in the bearing there. I believe yeah, alright. I'm going to go ahead and poke this through here because these windings, the rotor can only go through one way, which is a little weird. I'm going to go ahead and pop that back in there. Like that. Then I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing on the front here, which hopefully you guys can see a little better if I zoom out. My can's getting a little low here. I'm going to put a little oil in the bearing itself. Now I'm going to just simply slide it through. Yes, there's a little oil on my desk, but oh well. And then, as soon as you're done with that, go ahead and reassemble. I put the oscillator back on just for my own sanity with these wires. Now when you go ahead and reassemble the motor, you want to do the screws almost like head bolts and try and torque them evenly on the diagonal. So I just did that one. Now I'm going to do this one down here and try and put the same amount of torque on it. Then go ahead and do the other two. Make sure when you put this shaft back in that you get all the thrust washers too. I may have forgotten one, but I'll show you how to check and see if you need them in a second. Oh, that's one right there. So I guess I did forget it. Alright, there we go. Alright, so quickly, just pull the shaft in and out a bit like that. A little bit of play is fine, but too much is not good. If there's too much, that means you need thrust washers. Either you forgot to put them back in, or they're not there anymore and you need to buy some new ones, which is a little annoying because it means you have to pull the motor apart again. Or you just forgot to put them back in, so that's easy. You can probably get them at most hardware stores under fiber washers generally. But anyways, from here on out it's all pretty easy reassembly. So I'm going to skip to when I get the motor back on the pedestal. Alright, so before we finish putting this thing back together, there's one very important step that some people neglect. And that is realigning these bearings. Now while these are actually relatively free, what I like to do, take a screwdriver or some rubber object. What you do is you tap on the shaft in each direction a couple times. So I go just something like that, and that really helps to free up the bearings and align them properly. Seems a little better to me. Alright, final piece. I did not go crazy cleaning this fan because I do intend on cleaning it later if I do paint it. So, I'm going to go ahead and try and pop this front grille back on. I can't say I'm a huge fan of this snap design. It does seem to go together pretty easily though. But I don't know how many times you can take this grill on and off without those snaps snapping. So, it's back together now. Let's give it a test. To get the camera out of the Airstream here, I'm going to go ahead and test it for the first time with you guys. So, 3, 2, 1. Runs like a champ. Beautiful. Try oscillation. It's making a few weird noises. Alright, that oscillator needs a little grease. It's one thing I didn't do yet. So, this is the easiest step now. What I do after oiling a fan like this, I let it run for at least an hour. And I let all the oil soak in and everything. I'll probably put it on medium or high, get it spinning. Because the bearings do sound a tiny bit dry right now, but that's because no oil has actually gone into them. But this thing's a decent performer. I'm very happy with my find. Here, listen. So yeah, that thing moves a lot of air. I mean, it's pushing things 20 feet away right now. And it's pretty quiet too. Overall, I'd say it's a pretty good find. I'm going to probably paint it up a bit, make it look a little prettier, and then it'll be quite a nice little fan. So, anyways guys, thank you all for watching. I hope you learned something or enjoyed the video at least. And I'll see you in the next one. So, till then, bye. So, fan's been running for about 5 minutes now, letting that oil soak in. Like I said, I usually do about an hour, but let's watch the spin down time now. You can still hear a little bit of a weird noise, but I think that's just a little bit better than how we started.